Now recognizes the ranking member, Ms. Balint, for an opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The majority has us here talking about bail and justice. And of course, this bill raises the key question, what is it that makes our communities safer? And in light of the events yesterday, we cannot talk about safe streets, safe communities, without addressing what happened yesterday in Minnesota. Now, we have covered many of the issues that it brought up in this bill before. We have plowed this ground before, and I will address the parts of the bill in a moment. But this administration has now spent a full year terrorizing communities and making our streets unsafe for everyone. And from where I sit, and I know I speak for my colleagues on this side of the dais, we knew it was only a matter of time before we had a tragedy like this, because all the signs were there. We have tried to sound the alarm that ICE has been detaining Americans. ICE has been violating rights and has been using violence without seemingly any accountability. And so many of us sit here this morning absolutely enraged, but also heartsick about what has happened. Not just to this woman in that car in Minnesota who was gunned down in front of her partner, but we are deeply shocked and dismayed that this administration is in full-on propaganda mode, and it's dangerous for all of us, regardless of party. We've seen the videos from many different angles, and we have a government right now that is telling us not to believe our own eyes. And we're not stupid, and Americans aren't stupid. And thank goodness there were people there documenting what happened. And we can all watch the tapes and understand what happened. An American citizen was mercilessly gunned down. And we have a president and we have a Secretary of Homeland Security that is now lying about it. And Ms. Good would have loved to have had the opportunity to obtain bail. If she was in violation of state or federal law, she would have loved to have had the opportunity to take advantage of bail and have her case heard in court. And yet the ICE agent in that moment was judge, jury, and executioner. And it's a tragedy, and it's a national disgrace. And it's difficult to sit here and hear my colleague, who is introducing this bill, talk to us about the dangers of releasing violent criminals out on the street through bail when we are still dealing with the horror of the president pardoning the violent felons that attacked this building and that attacked law enforcement. And several of them have reoffended. And so we sit here and we will once again be subjected to a conversation about bail and it is not at all rooted in fact about crime in this country. The data has shown and continues to show that violent crime is down. Property crimes are down. Homicides are down. There is absolutely no evidence suggesting that the posting of bail by a state or local bail fund affects interstate commerce in any meaningful way. I expect my Republican colleagues today to spend the time citing purely anecdotal evidence. And of course, there are individual stories of people who have committed violent offenses after being bailed out by nonprofit bail funds. And each is tragic. Just like the murder of Ms. Good was tragic. And what we need right now is a president and an attorney general and a secretary of Homeland Security being honest with the American people that this was a tragedy and that they are going to look into the circumstances by which an American citizen was gunned down. And there is no question, and again, I speak for my colleagues, there is no question that we must address the root causes of violent crime. We have to invest in proven solutions, such as community violence intervention and drug treatment, and support law enforcement with funding and other resources, something that has not happened under this administration. If the majority decides to get serious about public safety in America, we will welcome that opportunity. But this legislation is not a solution, and for us to be discussing this in light of what happened yesterday feels completely and totally inappropriate. This legislation is no solution at all, and I urge my colleagues to join me in voting no on H.R. 6260, and I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back without objection. All of the opening statements will be included in the record. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Wisconsin to offer an amendment in the nature of a substitute.
Mr. Chairman, I do have an amendment at the desk.
Clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment in the nature
Without
of
objection, the amendment in the nature of substitute will be considered as read and shall be considered base text for the purpose of amendment. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Wisconsin